Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Ready to feed ourselves some more? I know bellies are full, so now let's feed the rest of us some more. All right. Okay, so now, and as I was talking to Annie over here, it was really cool, this energy that was coming in. So, oh my goodness, get ready. Because like I said, I feel things, and sometimes I'll actually get. I'm always getting new things coming in, so I don't know always how to identify. So it's just fun just to experience it and try to figure it out later. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. Who is it, Annie? And she's like, well, it's probably Darcy. So I'm like, okay, But as I walked up here, it got even stronger. So I love it. I love what they do. So get ready. So that's all I'm going to say. Okay, thank you. They said that's good. Okay, all right. Yeah, get ready. I love it. Anyway, Annie is going to do even more with you. I love how this just keeps building. It's like, who are we and what do we do? And this is how we can connect and everything. And then she's going to help you even more, okay, this is who we are, accept it. This is what we're doing, and now embrace it. Let's work with this. This is how you do this. And, Annie's had a lifetime of living with her guide and wrote about it and everything. And then she will show you and work with you on how to embrace your relationship with yours and connect with yours and even more than that. And she just keeps writing more and more on that and what it means and how you can keep getting your messages and keep developing that, because that's so important. The more and more you can do with this connection, as you learn who you really are and as you learn what this relationship is really about, it's so special. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why they're here. You signed on to be here. Ooh, boy, here it comes. Oh, boy. You signed on to be here. They signed on to help you. Yes. Okay? This is a partnership. So let them do their job while you do your job. And I'm feeling this.
Well said, Julia.
Okay. Okay. Now, Annie's books, so far, they said to say so far.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Education of a Guardian Angel, Training of a Spirit Guide, and the Dawn book is her latest book. Okay? So, welcome, Annie Stillwater Gray.
Thank you. Yay! I love all of you. Thank you for being here. All right, so of course the good news is that we all have a spirit helper. I mean, we have many, but we have one. We have one special spirit helper that actually signed an agreement before you were born, helped you get ready, choose your parents, that kind of stuff. And then helped you through the birth process, and then helped you and just is with you. I'll tell you, your guide never leaves you unless you ask for privacy. Your guide never leaves you and will help you when it's time for you to transition over. So that's the best news ever, really. And so that you're never alone. You could be driving across Nevada, the desert, and you think you're alone, but your guide's riding shotgun. So the first book I wrote actually was the Dawn book. I'm going to hold it up again. This is like so fulfilling for me because I wrote this. Actually, I didn't write it. I call it telepathically transcribe. I don't call it channeling. If you want to see a real channeler, then you see Blair tomorrow. He's a channeler. But telepathically transcribe means that they were talking to me and I was writing it down. I was very careful with this one to really get all the wording right. And if I had a question, I'd ask, and they'd clear it up for me. But this is information from the Master Guides. Now, if you're a person who has a Bible, get this and put it with your Bible. This is like an update. This is for now. This is for today. This is for the times we're in. And a lot of the Bible was also telepathically transcribed. So if you want an update, try this. You don't have to read it from the beginning to the end because it's just information. So you can take it and you can just open it and see what it says for that day for you. That's how I wrote it. I sat each morning. That's what's called the dawn book. I got up at dawn, and I sat there and they would say, okay, today we're going to talk about, whatever. There's a lot. But before we get into that, I want to just take the other book for a minute. I was here in 2014, and that's when I presented this book. What happened was, I did the Dawn book, and I thought, this is so important. This information is so important. This is information that we haven't had. Only shaman have had this information. And so what the masters were telling me is that we're ready for it now. We can handle it now, So I know that the same information is probably coming down in other places, other languages, but I thought this is important. And I tried to get it published. 1989, 1990, we're talking. 25 years I stand before you, and it is in print. So what happened was, my guide is named Darcy Darciman Stillwater. And he said, okay, look, write a book about me, and that'll sell the other book. And that is exactly what happened. So this is his story. This is my guide's story. But how it translates is that all your guides were trained in this way. Going through, it takes a long time to become a spirit guide, and some of you, I feel, when you transition, you'll be tapped on your shoulder. And someone will say to you, you have earned the right to study to become a spirit guide. If you're living your life full of love and compassion, it's likely that you will. I mean, if you have some more earth business, then you may have to come back one more time. But anyway, so this starts when Darcy dies in 1836. And it talks about what happens to him when he goes over, when he transitions, and how he's told he could be a spirit guide. Of course, 1836, they didn't say spirit guides. No one talked about spirit guides, or if they did, it was pretty secret. So he said, well, I don't even know what that is. So in the first chapter, he's shown what a spirit guide does. And as he learns, we learn, what they do. And the most fascinating thing to me is that it's a two-way street. If you are working with your guide and paying attention, and it doesn't mean you always have to do everything your guide says. You can question your guide. You can say, well, I think this or I think that, but your guide will continually try to keep you on the right path. And if you ignore them, there's an example in here of somebody who's just in deep depression, completely ignoring the guide. The guide is trying to reach out and give compassion and love, and as the guide's energy shrinks, as the person ignores them. So it's a two-way street. The more we work with our guides, the stronger and more vibrant they become. Now, who are our guides? Well, they are actually entities as we are. Andrew was talking about how we're energetic beings, but we just happen to be encased in a physical body right now. They don't have a physical body. So they can take whatever form you have to kind of agree. They kind of know you so well, right, that they can come up with an image that you would enjoy to work with. Some people say, oh, can my spirit guide be an animal? Well, yeah, it could be. But you still have to be able to have conversations with the guide. The whole idea, what I teach is telepathy, so that you can have telepathic conversations with your spirit guide. That's what I teach. And once you get that audio link going, sometimes you get other things too. Dreams, visions, visuals, whatever. I get the whole ball of wax now. I've been doing it for a while. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to sing. Yay, I'm going to sing. Well, this is a blessing. It's an Apache peyote chant, and what's great about peyote chants is that you can assign any intention that you want to them. So my intention, obviously, is a blessing for all of you, and also I'm going to kind of put in there, too, that I would like each of you to sometime during your stay here receive a message, a gift, some kind of interaction from your life guide. Some of you already do it all the time, but something special. All right, let me get a drink of water. This is going to take some throat. I learned this from She Who Runs with Horses, who is an accomplice of Ocean of Fast Wolf. I'm always very pleased when First Nations people are willing to share their knowledge with us. So I sing this with a great respect for them. And you are well. I'm going to sing this stanza 4 times, because I always do things in 4s. And you are welcome to join in if you wish to, or you can just enjoy it. Bless all of you. Hey, wanayana, ho, eh, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, eh, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, eh, yana. Hey, yane, oh, way. Hey, wanayana, ho, eh, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, eh, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, eh, yana. Hey, yane, oh, way. Hey, wanayana, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, yana. Hey, yane, oh, way. Hey, wanayana, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, yana. Hey, wanayana, ho, yana. Hey, yane, oh, way. Aho. Thanks for joining in. So this book ends with the writing of this book. This book is mostly about Darcy learning, but then I come in about halfway through. You know, it wasn't easy for me to do this because it lays out my karma right there on the table for you to see everything. And it isn't pretty. You know, one of the things that happens is when Darcy, he had to have a lifetime without me because we were so connected. That's another thing I want you to know, that you and your life guide are bonded. You have had experiences with that entity before, in past lives probably, on other planes perhaps, but you are bonded. That entity knows you so well and loves you immensely. So when he remembered me, he almost, he was like, whoa, where is she? Because we met in Egypt. I was an astrologer to the pharaoh, so they tell me. But I believe it too, because astrology comes naturally to me. I'm an astrologer too, among other things. And he was my student. He was 5 years my junior, and he was my student. And we ended up working together as healers in the healing schools there. But he said to his mentor, Sotral, who you'll meet, wait a minute, where is she? Why isn't she here? She was my teacher. And they said, well, she got herself in a little bit of trouble, a little bit of karmic trouble. So he keeps asking to see me and asking to see me. So about halfway through the book, my lifetime as an orphan kid. My parents died on the voyage from Livorno, Italy, and I ended up on the shores of New York as an orphan and put in an orphanage. Not very pleasant conditions in 1908. And so basically they kind of, I get killed so that my soul can go back with Darcy and start learning about what I'm here doing today. Yes. I'm so happy. My message is pretty joyful. All right, so I have always been a seeker and always interested in things, but until Darcy started talking to me, then this whole thing started to unfold. I was 43. I've been in radio all my life. I'm still in radio. They just made me general manager of a new community radio station, as if I don't have enough to do. And I'm also a lead singer of a band, so I'm kind of busy. But at any rate, I had just gotten fired from another radio job. Terrible business, especially for women, very unstable. You don't get the numbers, or they change the management, and the management wants to bring in new people. Anyway, I had just lost a job, and I was 43, and I had a bad back injury. Sometimes that goes with financial woes, right? Lower back. And I thought, well, this is it. What is there in this life to hold on to? I mean, my dad, he had a job where he had security, he had a pension and all that, and there wasn't anything like that for me. And then one day I'm doing the dishes, and if you haven't read I lived in an old pre-Civil War house with no running water. It had one plug for electricity. So with a bad back, I had to pump the water, right, into a kettle, bring it over onto the wood stove, stoke the wood stove to heat it up to do the dishes. So I'm getting myself ready to do that, and all of a sudden I hear him talk to me, and he says, well, why don't we listen to classical music today? You never listen to classical music. And I said, hello? And I knew it wasn't me saying that. And it was a male voice, a British voice, and so I said, well, let's go with the flow here. So I being in music and radio for so long, I had a whole wall of vinyl. Of course, back then it was vinyl. And I didn't even look. I just reached up and pulled out the only Beethoven record I had. He said, well, I'd really like to hear Bach, but you only have Beethoven, so we'll listen to that. So I put it on, and we listened to it, scratches and all, and that was the beginning. And soon after that, I was given a book called Companions in Spirit. I think it's been reissued. It's by Leah Maggie Garfield. And she's had spirit guide contact her entire life, her mother, her grandmother. And so I read it and started to understand what was happening to me. And in it, they give a grounding and clearing meditation just so that you can, so you don't float away. Because once you start doing this work, you can be up in the ethers very easily. So I started working with Darcy, and this was September when he first talked to me, and then on Christmas, that very Christmas of '89, I don't know if you remember it, but it was when there was that big uprising in Romania, and they killed the king and the king's family and everything, and it was Christmas Day, and that's a Catholic country. And I remember I was visiting my mom, and I came up and she had the TV on, and there it was all about that, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I went down to my room. My mom ran a motel. And so I went down to my room and I just cried. And it was a cleansing, but I just felt the woes of the world. I mean, how can we possibly still be doing this to each other? You can ask yourself that question this very day. How can we be doing this to each other? And so I said, I need to go for a walk, Ma. So I walked out the front door, and zap, I started being contacted by one of the master guides. I knew it wasn't Darcy because the sound was different. When you get contacted by a master, the voice has a timbre to it. It has like a ring. It's the only way I can describe it. And so this master guide said to me, well, take heart because everything's going to change. I said, good. How soon? When can we get on with this, This is too sad. And he said, well, how would you like to be a leader in the new time? And I said, wait a minute now. What does that entail? I mean, this is a Joan of Arc thing or what? So he said, no. We just want you to write down some material that humans are ready to have. That's this book. I spent 1989 and 1990 sitting every morning and getting this information. Now, I'll give you an idea of what's in here that we haven't had access to before. I mean, some of the things you'll know. There's explanation of the chakras and things like that. But one of the things that I think is most valuable in here, and I think anyone who's a counselor, anyone who does any kind of counseling or helping people learn this technique, It takes any kind of emotion, including depression, anger, jealousy, hatred, anything like that, and gives you steps to transform the emotion into love and compassion. This is what we can do. See, they think we have it wrong about emotions. We have it wrong. Emotions are valuable. They actually take, so it says in here anyway, they take form and shape on a nearby plane. And an example that they use is Eastern Europe. I visited Eastern Europe when the wall still stood. I used to be married to a jazz musician, and we went all around Eastern Europe. And the people walked with their heads down. We were followed the entire time that we were in Warsaw, and it was just oppressed. But you know what? They didn't fight back. Those people didn't fight back, but they did with their hearts. All their hearts wanted their country to be free, and it happened. It happened without bloodshed. So the same thing can happen if we put our hearts together here and now. Because we are facing a big transition. It's a coming down the line. So says Lee. I wanted to mention the other people who've been speaking, because I couldn't believe it. Everybody's talking about spirit guides. I'm like, yes. Even Andrew, who was right on before me, he talked about them. And it's just been very, very gratifying to be here this time, I tell you. So we had Patrick and Maureen. She was guided. Susan Weed, boy, she was dancing with the fairies up here, right? And Justine, I don't know if you saw, Justine had two really tall guides standing. She's a little gal. Two guides standing beside her, like rapid fire, boom, 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 like that. And of course, wonderful Michael, with all his research, he was guided to find those things, to pull all those pieces together. And then Lee. Did anyone hear Lee? He was the first speaker. Brave man. Brave man. He was a history teacher, taught language and so on and so forth, and talked about how far we've come, how we've come from the telegraph to the television, and very short time. But at the end, he talked about huge earthquakes, magnitude 10 earthquakes in Vancouver and Seattle that will flood the city and cause tremendous damage. And it was hard for him because he said, look, I didn't want to see this. I kept telling him no, 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 and they kept showing it to me. And they'd show it to me closer and closer. So he said, I have to tell you this. Now, the thing that's different, and we all know this transition's coming. We've been talking about earth changes forever. I remember back in the 60s we were talking about it. And then there was the harmonic convergence, and we were talking about it. And all of it, and yet he put a date to it. Brave man. He said this October. And he said it will continue for 2 months, and it will continue right down the West Coast. One of the chapters in this book begins with an eagle flies over the coastline. It is a new coastline. Now, I'm going to put a positive slant on all this, believe it or not. This is an opportunity. All right, let's go back to 9/11, okay? 9/11 was a huge tragedy, all right? But what happened? Everything stopped. All the planes were grounded. Everything was quiet. And compassion poured out of the hearts of people all around the world. The whole vibration of the planet changed because of that. Now, if we hadn't gone to war so quick, it might have lasted a little longer. But at any rate, that's the kind of thing that these big changes will bring, is a tremendous amount of people wanting to help people, compassion, just an outpouring of love and compassion. And that's really where we want to be headed, folks. We want to take all those extraneous emotions and really bring them up to our heart chakra and higher. We've been working below the belt for too long here, right? All that energy down there in that power chakra, I don't know. It got us into a lot of trouble, and it still is. I wanted to really thank Lee for being brave enough to talk about that. And everybody should know that it's coming. We never knew when, we just knew that it is. And was it Michael? Yeah, Michael talked about the prophecies and the overlapping. Back in the 70s, I was given a tape that showed the Hopi prophecies were You could find them in the Bible. You could find them in astrological predictions. They all overlapped. So, we're all here on purpose because we want to experience this transition. And we can make it a great one in that it'll raise everybody's personal vibration. The earth herself is vibrating more quickly. It's called the quickening, right? And therefore, we need to be in tune with the earth, and I'm sure most of you know this, and most of you are doing things so that you are, whether it's walking barefoot, that was mentioned earlier, or meditating, or just being conscious. And one of the ways that you can know the best thing for you and your family is to be in touch with your spirit helpers, obviously. They have much vaster knowledge than we do, and if they don't know it, they'll find out, because they have direct links, to the Akashic Records, which Patrick mentioned, and beyond. I mean, if we need angelic help, they can bring it. So even if you don't, meet your guide today, even if your guide isn't tapping you on the shoulder today, you can still start working with them. I always tell people there's just two things that are really easy that you can do. One is you need something, you want to know something, ask, but be specific. I even say write it down, because if you're not specific, they won't know how to help you, or how to help you the best way anyway. For instance, I got a little story. I had a friend, she was a doctor, she really wanted to find a husband. And so she would make her list of everything she wanted in a man. I guess there are a few women do that. So she forgot to put unmarried. So she met the perfect guy, but whoops. So then she started again. She started over. She made her list. But she said, navigated money well. So she met a guy who used to be a millionaire. Wasn't anymore. So you have to be careful with your wording, but feel free to ask. You can ask your guide every single day. I hope that you start making your spirit guide a part of your family. Make them your partner. Mine is my partner, in many, many ways. It's in the book, so I guess has anyone read Education of a Guardian Angel? You know what happens. We get married. We get married at the end. And of course, it took a lot of convincing me to do that, because I was single, and I said, wait a minute now. You can't carry in the firewood for me, How are you going to help me water the garden? I mean, I need somebody who's going to be here and help me, because I live a pretty rustic lifestyle. I live in the wilds of Maine. I live in about an hour from the Canadian border. I live where there are no Walmarts. And so Darcy said, well, if you still want to have an earth husband, that's okay. We guides, we're not jealous. That's one of the, they have to go through trainings, unconditional love, non-judgment, right? Being able to read energy fields, birth imprints, which are astrological charts, death imprints. Makes sense, doesn't it? That's why it's so important to help people pass over in peace and love, because they're making an imprint when they go. And that imprint will be a factor in whatever happens next for that particular soul. We heard Maureen today, very moving presentation. Those gentlemen who die in battle or die in fear, they take that with them. That's an imprint on their soul. Hopefully, they come back, they can resolve any issues around it. That's why we keep coming back, because we leave with issues. We come back. That's what's great about the education book. You really get a sense of karma. You really understand what karma is, because it takes me and Darcy through several lifetimes. And there's the lifetime in which I make the big mistake. I compound it. And so my death imprint is like, you can barely see. My soul is this tiny little pink circle, and then there's almost nothing. So it's very important to help people pass over well. And those of you who do that work, bless you. It's very sacred work. Very sacred. If you do it for a family member, bless you. Even if you do it for a pet. Gosh darn, I just lost my favorite kitty. It really tore me up, what can I say? But we sat with him. We didn't leave him, we sat with him until he decided it was his time. Anyway, I'm really very, very happy to have spirit guides come up so often at this conference. And I am really, really pleased that you're all here. I love you, I love you. I said that already, but I'll say it again. All right, so the Dawn book has been around since 1991. In 1991, some friends of mine, because what I did is I just ran off, the pages, and I started giving them around to people. And so they said, we'll come up with enough money. So the first edition, self-published, was 130 books. And then that second edition, 1998, was 350. I've sold them all. So this information is out there, and now it's available to you. Okay. Just so you know, I'll be downstairs around the corner where the Ozark books are after this is over if you want to talk to me. I will leave time for questions too. But this is such a gift. I can't even begin to tell you. And the other thing that's great is it's easy to read. It's easy. It's not like trying to read Alice Bailey. Ever try to read Alice Bailey in the Tibetan, where you have to read one paragraph for a week? It's not like that. This is really easy to read. I kind of insisted on that. I said, you gotta make it nice and easy for people to get into it. So, and there's a few illustrations. Let's see if I can find one for you. What I do every morning, here it is. It's one of the things I didn't know is the difference between vertical and horizontal energy. I didn't know this. This is new to me. And turns out that if in the morning you start off and you just stand and you bring beautiful grounding energy from the earth up through the arches in your feet and right up through the crown of your head. I usually use emerald because that's a beautiful color for the planet, right? You could use blue, whatever moves you, but make it luminescent, right? And then once it's up like this, then you take white and gold and you pull it down and fill your body and have it go out the arches in your feet, so you're giving something back to the planet. Now what that does is it brings you to center. It means that for the rest of the day, you're going to have better timing. You say the right things at the right time, you're going to have a sense about things. You're going to be operating from your vertical core, and then you're going to be putting this out horizontally. Like you and I right now, we're relating horizontal energy, right? But it's fed by my core. It's fed by my vertical core. So that's just one of the little things in here. There are plenty of, there's even a whole chapter on enlightenment if you're interested. The path, the different visualizations and how to, what enlightenment basically is you change your cells. You change your cells. And we can all, we are creators. As Patrick said, we are creators, so we can change ourselves if we want. And this gives you a kind of a map on how, if you really want to be an enlightened person, if you want to, but once you start, you have to keep on, You don't want to kind of start and go, well, maybe it's not for me. But you kind of have to keep going once you start. But so there's all kinds of wonderful visualizations in here for almost anything you might want. Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to say I did read Education of this.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best books I ever read. I read it twice.
Thank you.
And I'd like to read it again. It's been a while now.
All right. She said it was one of the best books she ever read. Well, it was written by Darcy. Darcy wrote it. I mean, I'm the scribe, but Darcy, it's his story, really. So thank you so much.
Story.
Okay, so let me check our time here. I'll take questions, and again, I'll be downstairs too. Okay, we have about 20 minutes. So this book is already, yes? Oh, he's coming around with the mic. Just give it a sec. Isn't that nice?
When my daughter Elizabeth was born, her spirit guide was with her. And she was born with catastrophic illnesses.
Oh my goodness, what karma.
But I implored And she has been so blessed
Good.
and a blessing. So I understand that our spirit guide comes with us when we enter this doorway,
correct.
this path.
Right.
And so yay for you putting it out there and helping
Thanks.
other people to
Thank you.
understand and to grasp the concept of this
Yeah.
immortality and the enwrapping, encompassing.
Oh, doesn't it feel wonderful? Yeah.
But her middle name is Gabriella,
Nice.
because I think the Archangel Gabriel was pulling out his wing feathers at the second she was born, because,
That's
I mean,
beautiful.
it's just been really rough. But she was going into yet another medical surgery,
Wow.
and I was frantic. I mean, I was just, frantic. And she says, no worries. No worries. God's not done with me yet.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and thanks for all your spirit help. Yeah, I'm here to encourage you to really embrace your life guide, and your life guide will bring in other guides as you need them. When I was here last time, I had a gentleman raise his hand and say, well, I was a professional golfer, and I'm pretty sure I had guided help because I made a bunch of shots I never thought I could make on my own. He said, but when I retired, I think that guide left. So I think my guide left. I went, no. Your life guide's always there. Your life guide brought in a helper while you were the professional golfer. And then when you were done with that guide went on. But your life guide doesn't leave. And they'll step back if you want privacy. That's important. They have a creed that is in the education of a guardian angel, that they all not just learn, but they have to make it a part of them, their energy.
So, you have a guide now. In past lives, did we have the same one?
Sometimes, yes. She asked if in past lives we had the same guide, and sometimes. It varies. The only thing I can say for absolutely sure is that you have a bond with your current guide that probably goes back to past lives. I've never done, I don't call them readings, I call them conversations, because I sit with someone and the guides basically talk. And I've never really had a conversation with the guides present where they weren't already connected. Usually they start off, we knew each other, back in South America, back in, when we were all growing corn together. They'll start out with a story sometimes about how one of the significant lifetimes that you shared and what maybe you faced together. And this is when your guide was human. That's a prerequisite. Every one of your life guides had to have had experience on this plane, on Earth, in order to help you. If they've never been on Earth, how are they going to know what you're going through? So they've all had Earth experience and graduated, per se, to being spirit guides. Yes?
On occasion, my name is called in the middle of the night and it wakes me up and I get some piece of information, not too frequently. Usually calling me Sherry, which is my nickname. But a couple of weeks ago, I was awake and I heard Cheryl, and I was trying to discreate a belief through a technique that I know, and I was having a lot of trouble, and the name came in Cheryl, and then all of a sudden my attention was redirected to another process that I didn't know, and it did something to my vibration that was very beautiful. So would that be a different person if he switches from?
It's possible that your life guide called in another guide to help. It's possible if you were in a situation where your guide felt the need to call in an additional guide. Some people show up and they have entire tribes with them.
Wow.
They have so many, So, and one of the questions I get, and is there more you want to ask
Well,
me?
I just wanted to activate it, to get to the point where, I initiate the conversation. I just ask for help.
Yes.
Okay, and that's in your book?
Yes.
Any specific way? Okay.
I just say be specific, and I sometimes say, especially if you're a journal, if you have a journal or have a place, I have a place where I just write those things down. I say, I really need help with this, and then be specific, and you'll get it. In fact, I think it's Julia who says you'll find the answer 3 times in one day. So the thing about doing this kind of work is you have to be aware. You really have to be aware of everything. I watch animals, birds, the weather. I watch everything for signs of, for information. And then, of course, there's that wonderful telepathy, that telepathic connection, which I really encourage all of you to make. And the telepathic center is behind the third eye and down from the crown. It's right in the brain there. As Patrick was talking about our brains and activating them and everything. And I always tell people, well, just turn a light on in there. Put the sun in there. Or if you're standing in line, waiting in line somewhere, just light it up, And you also have to give your guide some quiet time to talk to you. That's why he's waking you up in the middle of the night, probably, because you're so busy. That's the only time he can get to you. So that's why meditation is good. But if you're not fond of it, I'm so busy now, but I try to sit quietly or have quiet time every day. We feed ourselves, our bodies. We need to feed our spirits too, with a little bit of quiet time. Meditation is excellent, of course. Any more? Okay, yep.
I wonder, the way you talk about the spirit guides, are they the same as our guardian angels?
Yeah, we use, that term is interchangeable, and the reason that Dolores, Education of a Guardian Angel was not the title that I was working with, and then Dolores said, well, why don't we use guardian angel, because people are more comfortable with that term.
Okay.
And then, and it's also in the Bible and so on, where the subtitle is Training of a Spirit Guide. So they're basically the same thing. Spiritualists call them gatekeepers. So, it's your personal life guide, your personal guardian angel. That's the one you want to work with. And other guides too, it's fine. But they all have to go through your life guide to have access to you. Your life guide has the last word, as do you, I must say also. You free will, that's what it's all about.
So are our guides with us right now?
Absolutely.
Can you
this
see-
room is packed.
Can you see, can you see all of our guides?
Well, if I did, I'd go a little nuts. But their energies, they're all around. And also, we also have what I call the peanut gallery. We also have guides in training who are looking in on this conference. They kind of show themselves as kind of golden forms because they're not really ready to interact with Earth yet, but they're real interested in what y'all are doing. So they show up a lot. They're here too. And then, of course, there's some ancestors and those who have passed over who are checking in. I get asked sometimes, well, my grandmother passed over when I was 3. Is she my guide now? No, that would be no, because it takes a long time to be a spirit guide. It took Darcy 110 Earth years before he was ready to come back and be my guide. However, your grandma does look in on you. Your grandma will look in on you. Not everybody who passes over has that option. It's complicated. I'm not sure exactly why. When my father passed over, he was gone. He was gone somewhere, but I didn't have any access to him. But my mom and my grandma, my mom and my grandma, they look in. I feel like they're here today, too. More questions? 'Cause I've got a treat for you coming up. Yes, go ahead. No, he wants the mic. Good man.
I was just wondering, with so many people awakening now, I think we all feel that, we all know that's going on. One of my questions for you would be, for those folks that are just awakening, what's the best technique or suggestion you would give for them to develop that relationship more, so that they're more aware of it, rather than just, okay, you say it's there, I say I've got a spirit guide and all that, great, I don't have, how many people block that off?
Sure.
How would you open that up, would you say? How can we share that with other people?
Obviously I talked about the telepathy, but meditation also is great because it's all about raising your personal vibration. In fact, what I did is I brought a little 4-minute music video to show you about the whole idea of raising your personal vibration. They work on a very high vibratory level, the guides do, and they kind of have to come down and mess with us, But it's really good for everybody to raise their personal vibration, and that's meditation is one way, and breathing, breath. Well, my workshop tonight, I'll give all those tools. So there's right down the line. Yes. Oops, got one here. And then we'll come down to you.
Hi. I'm not sure if this is really the right way to ask this, but
Give it a try.
Pardon? Oh yeah, I'm gonna try. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Over the last couple of years, I've been meditating more, and I can't find an answer to why 321 comes up all the time for me. I can not look at a clock all day long, and 321 pops up, or I just see the numbers 321, and I don't know what they mean. I've never gotten a sense of what it is pertaining to, but I've been trying to meditate more, but at the same time, it's never coming to fruition.
Do you use a mantra when you meditate?
No, typically I light a candle and I try to push all the thoughts out of my mind.
Yeah, a mantra is helpful for that. You know, they charge a lot of money to learn TM, which is the use of a mantra. A lot of money. I learned it when it was only like $175. But you can, I say, and they're going to hate me for this, but make your own mantra. You know, make a nonsense word. Choose a vowel sound that you like, you know, ah, ooh, whatever you like, and then put a consonant on one end or the other and make a nonsense word, and just, you bring your attention to that and let the other stuff float away, and it'll help. Now, as far as the number thing, I've had other people say that too. The certain number comes up all the time. It could be something from your past that's come over. It could be that that was the time you died, maybe, the last lifetime, or something like that. Not necessarily. But I'm just saying it probably has some significance that's pulled over from your past. But keep your eyes open, because it may play something in your present too. So.
In reading Dolores Cannon's book, The Convoluted Universe, it was talking about how people are being called to a particular point at a particular point in time. And in reading this book, I was like, maybe this is the reason why I'm seeing 321, but I'm not in the right spot. And that's the only other kind of clue in reading that book, that maybe there's a place where I need to be at 320.
Talk to your guide about it. Your guide will get you there. That's another thing too, with all these changes going on. Your guide will really help you and your family be where you need to be at the right time and all that. So, somebody else? Oh,
Actually,
gosh,
that was, she actually asked the question I was going to ask, because I've had the same issue. Well, I shouldn't say it's an issue, but I've noticed like 333, and then all of a sudden it switched to 222, and I'm like, well, at what point am I like freaking myself out, or is this stuff actually being? Because I moved into a new house, and then I noticed that the billboard in front of it says 222 as well. So I was just like, okay.
Yep.
But
well, I think you both are probably tuned into numbers, and numbers have vibrations. So, all right. And we got a lady down in front here. Anybody else?
Off my subject, my number is 1111. I have no why. I have no reason why.
Well, sometimes they relate to the birth date. 11 is a master number, one of the master
birthday,
numbers.
October 2nd.
Okay. Well, October 10, 11, 2 is 11. I mean, so there you go.
Okay.
So
anyway, in 90. No, I think it was 95. Anyway, 93, 95, one of those two trips. I was in Inner Circle in Stonehenge, and I wanted answers on what I'm supposed to do in this life, blah, blah, blah. And the only thing that came through each time was I was supposed to be in telepathy. So what do I do with that?
Start talking to your guide.
I've never met my guide.
Oh, no, your guide is right there. Your guide's giving you a hug. He's right behind you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Hi. Yes.
Hi. I meditated a lot, and I would get messages from my spirit guide, and I hadn't done it for a long time. I'm working with a woman who told me to call on all these ascended masters, and I immediately started talking to like Kuan Yin, giving me all kinds of advice. And so I'm beginning to think that they told me through her, all you have to do is invoke us, and we will help you. You don't have to go through any big ceremony. But you're saying that my spirit guide has to okay all of that first.
So you can be sure it's not going to harm you. It's okay. And I'm sure you use protective light and all that, right? Do you put yourself in protective light?
Yeah.
Everyone do that.
Okay.
I know. See, I know you're also. You know all this stuff already. So put yourself in protective light, especially when you're in your car, in a plane, like I'm going to be. Okay, anybody else? I'm going to be downstairs around the corner where the Ozark Mountain display is. I'll be there for a while. You can come talk to me. You can pick up one of my cards. You can have me sign books, whatever you want. But what I have for you now is a real treat. And let me tell you the story before we play the video. In 1992, I started out by doing readings. I'd have people, and I didn't charge anything. It was all new to me, and I was learning, so I'd have people come and sit with me, and then I would ask, through Darcy, I would ask their guides to come and give them messages and so on. So I've been at Colby College for a long time on their radio station, and so this young woman, bass player, she's probably about 18 or 19, came and had a reading. And at the time, I had my first edition of the Dawn book, so she bought that. 20 years later, I get a letter from her saying, the reading that you gave me and the Dawn book changed my life. I have patterned my entire life after that reading that you gave me, and I'm like, whoa. And what she did is it was about bringing peace and awareness and enlightenment through music. And she fell in love with a young man from Peru who is a genius. He knows how to play just about every instrument, every Peruvian instrument, especially he was classically trained in all the pipes and everything. His name is Lenin. So they formed a band called the Flying Seeds. And she has written several books, not books, songs, from the Dawn book, using passages from the Dawn book. So I thought I'd play her latest one now. And it's called Power Plan, and she just does basically a slideshow of baby animals, so you'll enjoy that. But look at the words. She's got the words on the screen, and it's about raising your personal vibration. That's the Power Plan, is to raise your personal vibration so that you can flow with events on Earth, so that you can communicate with your spirit helpers. And her name is Emily Sabino, and the band again is the Flying Seeds. So I'll step aside.